Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick little video about my Maverick Trail, just kind of my thoughts on what I think of it so far, now, with some accessories on it and with a few miles on it and some of my thoughts. I mean, I'm calling it a walk around just because I don't know what else to call it. It's not like any other walk around out there, I don't think. I don't have an outline, I haven't written anything down, I don't have any notes. I just thought I'll walk around it and hopefully I'll see something that'll remind me to talk about something, and I'll just try to give my opinions and maybe answer some questions that I've seen on the forums and Facebook and stuff. And so that if you're in market, you kind of know what you're looking for. But we'll just walk around the thing, quote unquote, and see how it goes. So first of all, I guess I ought to talk about the reason that I bought a Maverick Trail. My wife and I bought some ATVs years ago. Best money I ever spent. I love the things. But we kind of thought we'd like to have a side-by-side in our arsenal someday. We ride the Paiute Trail a lot. We go down there several times a year. And really all of our favorite trails there are 50-inch trails. So we knew we needed a 50-inch machine. And at the time, for the last several years, you've had a choice really between the Razor 900 Trail and the Wildcat Trail. No offense to the Wildcat guys, I cannot get past the looks of the Arctic Cats. I didn't even look at one. I'm sorry, I'm sure they're fantastic. I'm sure they do what they do. I never even looked at one because I can't get past the look. So it was a Razor 900 Trail. That's what we were going to get. And this year when it came time to get one, the Maverick Trail comes out. And I started doing a little homework, kind of comparing them side by side. My nearest Can Am dealer is about 60 miles away, and they just happened to be a Polaris dealer, and they had the two machines side by side out on the floor, and really you tell the difference in them when they're side by side. I mean, no pun intended. The overall length is just a huge plus. The wheelbase is way bigger. The whole machine is bigger. You have so much more room in the cabin on the Maverick Trail. You get, the horsepower is about the same. You get power steering if you want the power steering. But the fact that you get full doors with the Can Am, you don't have to buy the little half doors that, I don't know how much they are, $200 or $300. They're kind of spendy. But when you start, for me, it was out the door. What I need. I need the brush guard. I need this. I need the lower doors. When you start comparing everything I have to put on the machine and walk out the door with, price-wise, really the Can Am was a little better deal for me. Even though I essentially paid full retail for the thing, because this was the first one they got. And if they didn't sell it to me for full retail, they were going to sell it to the next guy for full retail. But they did give me, 10% off or whatever on the accessories, which was fine. But for the money, honestly, the Can Am seemed like a better deal to me. And I'm a Polaris guy. I always have been, and I feel like I always will be. We have Polaris ATVs. I love that thing. It's got 3,000 miles on it. I ride the crap out of it. But, I'm not loyal to the brand of Polaris by any means. And when it comes down to my money and what I think is going to fit me, I think the Can Am was just a better bargain. The wheelbase really does give it a better ride. The suspension, the wheels, everything's out to the corners of the machine, gives it a better ride. I'm super happy with it. I don't know how else to explain it. The ride on it is really great. The front suspension is spot on. It's got some decent sized sway bars on it, so stability going down a high speed road is really solid. It's really good. You can get this thing sideways around a corner if that's your thing. And it just feels super planted, super stable. The brakes work great. The power steering, the dynamic power steering is tuned perfectly. When you're going slow, you have a lot of pressure on the steering, so it makes your steering feel really light. When you get up to speed, the pressure drops a little bit. It helps the steering feel a little more stiff. It's tuned perfect. It's flawless. The clutching, I believe, is flawless. It's tuned perfectly. It's super low geared. If you're in low, it's got a super low crawling, kind of low range in it. Can't complain about that. High speed, it's plenty fast. I mean, it's a trail machine. You're not going to go ripping through the sand or ripping hopefully down some Forest Service road at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It'll do that, I guess, if you want to. And from what I've seen, I watched a video of a guy run a top speed run, and it's electronically governed at like 68 miles an hour. I will never go that fast. It's kind of not my thing. But if you wanted to, it'll do it. I mean, I've had it up to 40 and 45, and it'll cruise at 40 and 45 fine. I mean, it's plenty of power, plenty of get up and go. If I had a complaint about the suspension, I feel like the rear suspension is maybe a little bit too stiff. And I feel like the rear sway bar is maybe a little bit, I mean, it's massive. It's a huge rear sway bar, which is great for stability going down the fast roads. But for on the really technical 50-inch kind of off-camper ski-wampusy stuff, I've had this thing on 3 wheels teetering. It just, you've sacrificed stability to get, you know, for overall suspension, travel, and articulation, I think. And you almost can't have one without the other. So I kind of get why it is the way it is. But I think I'm going to experiment this year. I'm going to maybe take that sway bar off completely, just to try and get a little bit more articulation out of it. Again, I'm not going to go flying down any dirt roads with the thing, so I don't need the high speed stability so much. I mean, I don't want to be on a side hill and feel like I'm going to tip over. So again, I'll just experiment and see what happens. The fact that the corners, the tires and everything, the suspension's all at the corners is great. I do like the fact that the tires on the back are the furthest thing rearward. It's good for me. I mean, this isn't my thing, but say you came off a steep rock ledge or something like that, then you can come down with the tires off of it and you don't have to worry about catching the rear end of the bike, which is great. For me, it's awesome because in the garage of my toy hauler, you know, the bottom of the walls in my toy hauler are covered with tread brite about 2 feet up, and I can back this machine right up against the tread brite, right up against the wall, and it's not rubbing my bumper, it's not rubbing anything up on the wall itself, just the tires are rubbing against that tread brite, which is great, and then I can cinch it down in place there. The drawback to that is that all of the mud, all the water, all the crap is going to come flying off this rear tire, and it does, all up in here, on the back of your helmet. You're going to get some on your steering wheel. For you mud guys, that's going to be an issue. I mean, maybe one day somebody will build a flap or something. I don't know. But then again, that kind of tucks away with, or kind of kills my whole up against the wall thing. But if you had a flap or something right here to catch that, you'd be doing yourself a huge favor. And there are flares available from Can Am that at least cover this part of it, but then they're going to put you over 50-inch if you put them on, just so you know. Also the rock guards, which I think are awesome, and I'd love to have them, they'll put you at about 54 inches, and that ain't going to work for me, so I can't put the rock guards on. But yeah, the compromise between having the wheels all the way back and the stability and everything that goes along with it is it's going to carry mud. And I don't know why they didn't give you a little bit more bed up here, unless it's for what I said about the tires being the far back thing. But man, does it throw mud, no doubt about it. The front end is better, but still, you know, the tires are pretty exposed. It throws mud, and it throws mud out front. And if you're going fast enough, it throws mud up in the air, and then you drive right into it, which is always fun. So yeah, coverage for that, not great, you know, but the doors are kind of nice to keep all that out of the inside. But just be aware, there's not a lot of coverage on the tires, and they do flip in mud. I don't do mud. I avoid mud whenever I can. You can't always avoid it. That's just how it is, but just be aware that is a thing. Some of the accessories I've added, I added the 4,500 pound Can Am winch. It has the synthetic rope. It also has the remote. There's a plug underneath here to plug the remote in. It fit really well. As far as installing it, you know, you just kind of undo some things and take this pan out, bolt the winch to the pan, put it back up. The hard part of the whole thing really was routing the wires and connecting everything, all the solenoids up underneath. That was not fun. And this dash is not made to lay on the ground and work up underneath, I can tell you that. But it was maybe a 4-hour deal. It wasn't horrible. You just take your time, read the instructions, read ahead in the instructions to make sure that what you're doing, you're not going to have to undo. Sorry. I added the aux beam light. That's a 12-inch spot flood combo light. There's a video I posted about that. It really is a good light for the money. The brush guard, the corner guards, and the front rack. I added them just for the front end protection to keep the tree branches off the plastic. Kind of the same with the rack. A lot of it was front end protection, but I think it looks really cool. I think I added probably an inch, maybe, to the overall length of the vehicle with that brush guard, but it's still going to fit in the garage in my trailer, but it's going to be close. The rack, super simple. You undo these little knobs on each side, and the rack tilts up and back, kind of like a hood on a Jeep or something. It lays back so that you can get some access to that service panel in there. Lay it back down, put the knobs in place, and it's pretty dang solid. I'm impressed with it. I don't know what you can mount on it, and I don't remember what the weight limit is because I didn't put my little warning label on it that I was supposed to. And you know, as far as visibility goes, you're not gonna be able to stack anything on it really high because it's gonna be in your way. But my thought was I was gonna one day mount a Rotopax up there. I always ride, I always carry extra fuel. I mean, you can see on my ATV, I've got some Rotopax mounted on it. And I have a set of the two gallon that lock together for 4-gallon setup with the mount and everything else that I was going to put on here. But to make it fit with the rack and this kind of raised section right here, it has to be back so far that it ends up being so tall that it's kind of in my way, and it doesn't look right. So what I'm thinking is I may mount a single 3-gallon Rotopax right here once I figure out a plate and something, I don't know, figure it out. And then we put a single 3-inch Rotopax right there. The headlights on it are horrible. I have a video up, you ought to go check it out, about the aux beam light. The low beams are okay, the high beams, and if they're adjustable, I don't know, I don't care. But just from the factory, they're pitiful. Say the low beams work okay, but the high beams are, anyway, go watch that video. It's on my YouTube channel, just for the aux beam light, you'll see. These little daytime running lights are pretty dang cool. They come on when the ignition's on. I just think they look cool. And I have some videos that my wife has shot during the day, and they're not really bright. I don't know, as far as the daytime running light, they're not super impressive, but I really think they look cool. Tail lights are great, LEDs. No complaints there. I guess I can switch my light bar on. Again, like I say, I got a video about that. Go check it out. Can't complain. It's money well spent on that light. As far as the interior goes, I mean, in my opinion, this is where the machine really shines. I mean, the doors with the door handles that open up, if you pull it just right. It's got some oh my god handles here on the side. Got a nice big footwell on the driver's side and a platform for your foot. The passenger side footwell isn't quite as big, but it's big enough. Place to plant both your feet. You got an oh my god bar here to hold on to. Everything ergonomically, I feel like, is right where it should be. The shifters boom. The switches are all boom. Headlight and the winch controls are here. The instrument pod tilts up and down with the steering, which I think is great. It's not just a here. It's not big, but everything's in there. Your gear indicator and warning lights, and yeah, put your seatbelt on. It'll only go 10 miles an hour if you don't have your seatbelt on. All the switches are in place. It's, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive here. Your diff unlock and unlock. This is my light bar switch here. The eco mode, sport mode. I probably ride with this thing in eco mode 99% of the time. I don't even, if it's for fuel economy, I don't know, don't care. But you have it in eco mode, it doesn't kill the power, it just dumbs down the throttle response just a little bit. So when you're going down a trail or a road and your foot is bouncing on the throttle, it's not jerking the throttle, which kind of compounds the problem and sets up this whole chain reaction of bounce, bounce, bounce. It takes, your foot can bounce on that throttle all day long in eco mode, and it's smooth. I mean, I love it. I leave it in eco mode all the time. I think that's a super neat feature that I would have never thought of, but I'm so glad it's there. I like the fact that the rear diff, you can unlock it separate from the four-wheel drive. Now in the Razor Trails, now in 2018, they got rid of what they call the turf mode. 2018, you can't get the turf mode anymore, but in the 17 and prior, you had one single switch, and when it was all the way down, you were in two-wheel drive with the rear diff unlocked. The middle position was two-wheel drive with the rear diff locked, and then the switch up, you was in locked all-time four-wheel drive. You couldn't run it in four-wheel drive with the rear diff unlocked, and you'd think, well, why the hell would I need to do that? And on the Razor, I don't know, I can't tell you, I've never really driven one much in the gnarly stuff. But in this machine, with that really long wheelbase, it comes into play in a major way. When you're in four-wheel drive and you're on a really tight section of trail and where tight turn or whatever, where you can't do it in two-wheel drive, you need to be in four-wheel drive, going uphill, downhill, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you're turning a really sharp turn, I've noticed that the front end is trying to pull you around the turn, and the rear end, being locked, will try to push you straight. So you feel the chassis kind of working against each other in a way, and being able to unlock that rear diff makes going around that corner so much easier. And again, you can't do that in a Razor Trail unless you completely take it out at four-wheel drive. And I'm sure it's more pronounced in this machine with a longer wheelbase, but I think that's just an amazing feature, being able to unlock that rear diff. Plus, it doesn't tear up your grass. It doesn't leave the black marks on your driveway. I think that's a great deal, and I'm glad they made it a separate. First of all, I'm glad they put it in there, and I'm glad they made it separate from the four-wheel drive system itself. Really happy with that. Has great storage. This one is not huge. This is where I keep the winch control. But then it has this great big one over here. I have all my emergency stuff in there, and jumper cables and lights and a saw and some tools, and basically all my essentials in that box, and it fits. It's really a good sized storage box. If I had a complaint, and it's so minor, the seat belts, and they work. They do what they're supposed to. They're fairly easy once you get your fat butt in the seat to reach around and find where to put it. It's not so bad, but this part that slides up and down is a little stiff, and then the where it reels it back in, it needs to be a little stronger, because you pull this thing out and you kind of get it around your fat butt and hook it in place, and then when you go to get out, it just doesn't have enough oomph, and then this thing, you have to physically kind of get it down out of the way so that it'll reel in the way. And then, you can't leave it here. So you have to get out, and you have to do this whole kind of number with your seat belt to get it, and then get it there, and put it where it goes, so you can, so it's away from the latch. And so the door closed, not a big deal, but it is one thing that you're going to deal with every damn time you get out of it. One day I'll put harnesses in it, and it'll be simple enough. There's brackets right back there for the harnesses. That'll be next on the list, I think. For now, the seat belts work fine. Other than that, not much else to tell. The shifter's great. It's super easy in and out. You find in any gear. One of the best shifters I've ever found. I love it. Yeah, just ergonomically, it's fantastic. It doesn't sit as high and upright as the Polaris. It's a little more low and reclined. Really comfortable. You can spend a lot of time in it on a long day on the trails. It's really comfortable. The seats have got good support. They don't look like much, but they really are comfortable. Pop the bottom off front and then pull the back out, the seats or the battery underneath there, real easy to get to. The ECU and other things are behind here. That just pops out. I love it. I think it's great. I added a rear view mirror. My neighbor had it in his garage. He had it on his Razor at one point, and he said, "Here, have it." Cost me $0.00. I just mounted it to the bracket up there. You know what? I can see behind me. It was free. It works. Yeah, the rack, the brush guards, the corner guards, the winch. I also added the roof. I do wish that they had just a full fabric roof. And that's what I wanted, but they didn't have one at the time. This was the closest thing they had, and it's fine. This part bolts mount solid to the frame, and it's pretty straightforward install. This rear half, you undo the straps here, and there's a few along the crossbar in the back. Undo these tension straps here, and then the whole top kind of rolls underneath itself and stores up in here. There's some straps up in here, so it rolls up and kind of stores neatly there, so you kind of have a half roof, which I think we'll probably ride with most of the time that way. We wanted something just to kick open in case it rains. I could have done without this. Again, if they had a full fabric roof, that would have been better for me, but this will just have to work. I don't understand. All the Can Am roofs seem to stop up here above this curve. So now all of your windshields have to come up and have a curve up at the top to meet this roof line. I don't understand why they didn't extend the roof to here and have the windshield meet it here. I would have liked if this whole thing was more like that, just for a little more sun visor effect and a little more openness to my roof. I don't get it, but whatever, that's just me. The roof, there's a little bit of vibration in it. Once you get certain RPMs in the engine, there's kind of a transfer of vibration through the chassis, and this roof just has this weird at certain RPMs that drive me nuts. It's got a metal plate for the front part of it, but this back part of it is just plastic, and it vibrates sometimes, whatever. But I've had it on a trailer going down the freeway 75 miles an hour, and it's solid. It's not flapping. It's good. You're supposed to have it open or closed, whatever that is, locked down when you're hauling it on a trailer. They don't recommend you have it rolled up underneath there. So yeah, I've had it just like that on a trailer going down the freeway. It's solid. It doesn't flap. It's fine. It was a little expensive, I think, for what you get, but whatever. I have some future plans. I'm going to mount a 32-inch, I think, curved LED light bar across the front of here, upside down. I don't want to put it on the roof just because I don't want it beaten up with tree branches and whatnot. I think I'm going to put it anyway. Future video. Stay tuned. Speaking of staying tuned, that's my Instagram page. If any of you guys want to give me a follow, it's just kind of up and coming. I haven't had it up long, and a lot of the stuff I currently have on there is some older rides, some older videos, some older pictures. And I'm just trying to get it going so that this year I can post kind of some new current content. Anyway, if you have Instagram, give me a follow, My ATV Life. If you like what you see on my YouTube channel, subscribe. I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to post a ton of videos, to be totally honest. But, if this is something that may interest you, you can see on my YouTube now, I have some GoPro videos of some previous rides that we've done. I have a GoPro video of kind of the maiden voyage of this machine that is pretty unexciting, but it gives you an idea. I have the GoPro mounted upside down on the visor of my helmet, so it gives you an idea of kind of the visibility up and over the machine. And there was the first video was just the fire roads, the Forest Service roads I was talking about, and then I have another video where we took it on some 50-inch stuff that was pretty interesting. So you can kind of see how it does in those situations. But overall, I'm super happy with the money I spend. I'm super happy with the purchase. It's a great riding machine. I don't notice any heat. Some guys talk about heat transfer with some razors and things, and I don't. Everything is really well insulated underneath there, and everything is really far back. I haven't noticed any heat coming in from the back. It's kind of a non-issue for me. I've heard guys that are running windshields, full windshields, that have noticed some heat coming from the back, but yeah, for me, it's kind of a non-issue for me. Future plans are run it and watch it, I guess. I'm going to run these tires off. These are the stock Carlisle ACTs that came with the machine, which I think are pretty damn good tires. I wish they were a little bigger. They're 26s, 9s in the back, 8s in the front. It's a 6-inch wide wheel, I believe, front and back. It's like a 5-1 offset. It's kind of an odd wheel. I would like to go up to 27 someday, maybe even 28s, maybe 9-inch front and rear. But I think I'd have to step up to a 14-inch wheel. I don't even know if they make a 27 or 28-inch tire for a 12-inch wheel. If they did, it'd be kind of odd. But anyway, someday. But I'm just going to wear these off. I paid for them, so we're going to use them. And like I say, I no complaints about the tires. They seem to work in snow, and they've done in mud, and they've done everything I've needed them to do. Carlisle ACT is really a pretty good tire. I mean, there are better, obviously, but for a factory machine, yeah, no complaints. Got the receiver hitch in the back if you need it. I have this bag. It's kind of it was off my ATV. It's made by OGO for Polaris. It's got the little quick releases that go on the rack. I took those out. Little carriage bolt fits right down in there, and boy, these things just lined right up where they were supposed to. So the carriage bolt just kind of slid down in this slot up through here, bolted it down. There's a couple of straps and some J hooks to secure it up in front. For now, it's going to have to work. It was something that I already had. Someday, hopefully, Ryfab is going to build a really badass box for the back of this thing, and that's what I'll get. But for now, that's what we got. Serviceability, I don't know. I haven't changed the oil yet. We'll see. Video to come for sure. Checking the air filter is super easy. Right behind this box, turn a couple things that comes off. There's your air filter. Fuel. No real complaints. I'm super happy with this machine. I really don't know what else to say. The ride is great. It really does well on the trails. On the super tight stuff, the length of it and the wheelbase of it is something you just have to deal with, because you have to really plan your really tight turns. I mean, it doesn't have the turning radius of the Razor 900. It's a little bit bigger. So you almost have to plan your routes, and you might even be doing there was a video that I did. Actually, I don't even know if it's in the video, but there was a really tight 90-degree turn onto a bridge that was all of 53 inches wide, and I could not make the turn in this thing onto the bridge. I had to do this to get onto that bridge, and so it's just, the wheelbase is fantastic for the other 99% of the time, but it was that one little bit like that where you got to swing the front end around where it needs to be to get the rear end around where it's got to go, that you will notice that extra length. But I'm telling you, it's worth it. The trade-off is worth it, for the ride quality and everything else. It's worth it. Like I say, the suspension's great. The front end, I've got everything set on the softest setting. I'm not so much worried about ground clearance per se. I kind of want to keep the center of gravity low and the suspension soft. And where I ride most of the time, I'm not so concerned ultimately about ground clearance. I've whacked the bottom of this once. I come down on a rock. It was like a triangle shaped rock, and I came right down on it with the belly of this thing and put a scratch in it, but not bad. But I need the ride. I want the soft ride, the plush ride. So everything is front and rear is just set as soft as it'll go, and as low as it'll go. When I bought it, actually, when it was on the floor, they had all four corners of the suspension jacked up all the way. And I don't know if that was just to look at all this ground clearance as it's sitting on the showroom floor. I don't know why they did that, but that was the first thing I did when I got it home, was drop the suspension down. again, like I say, I'll experiment. I'll redo a rear sway bar, maybe even I'll undo the front one. I don't know. We'll just kind of see how it goes. And the nice thing about the Can Am is they've made it easy, from what I can tell, not only to disconnect the sway bar, front or rear, to remove it completely, which is nice. You don't have to undo it here and zip tie it up out of the way. You can just undo it and take the whole dang thing out, which is kind of a nice little touch. So we'll do some experimenting with that. Again, we'll see front or rear. We'll kind of play with each end and see how that goes. But anyway, if you have any questions, hit me up here on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment, question, whatever. Hit up my Instagram. Yeah, and we'll see you guys out on the trail.